every horror film, you have to have some unique elements. It has to be something memorable specifically in that film that's only in that film. And for this one, at least the main thing that jumps out at you is this posture, this running, how these kids run. I saw an interview where they asked him, why do they run like that? And he was literally sitting there thinking like, I think it's because I thought it was creepy. And it is. But how he describes it in the screenplay is pretty cool. So let's look at that here on page 3. It says, every child runs across the yard with the same curious posture, body erect, arms outstretched in a downward V like someone holding heavy bags. They run like the naked Vietnamese girl covered in napalm from the iconic photo. Those two descriptions, the girl in the photo, if you know that photo, and the one before that, the most important one, holding heavy, hefty bags. If you've carried luggage or anything heavy, you know exactly the posture that you go into. It describes it perfectly. We talked a couple of times about Zach Cregger's process of writing. He doesn't really outline. He doesn't have a fully formed idea or thought about a story. He has characters in mind. He has a problem that needs to be solved. He puts people in an environment, and then he starts moving them around, and he just writes. This happens, and then this happens because of this, and then this happens because of this, and he sees where it goes. And I don't know this, but I'm sure he's probably done this before, and it didn't go anywhere. I mean, he can't be 2 for 2 doing that. But here he is in his own words describing exactly how he wrote this screenplay.
I didn't have an idea for the movie when I started writing the movie. I was like, okay, little girl telling a story. Takes place at a school. Kids go to school. Teacher, follow a teacher. Class is empty. Why? I don't know. Let's find out. And then like 2 sentences later, because the kids all ran out the night before. Okay, that's a hook I like. So I knew then, I was like, I have a good question. So then I probably wrote 50 pages before I even knew what the answer was going to be, honestly. So, I got the teacher, I got the angry dad, and they're kind of doing their cat and mouse sort of a thing. And then it wasn't until about the midpoint where I had what it was. And that was a really good moment for me because I was like, this might not ever be a thing. I might not have anything here. If I don't have a good answer, there's no reason to watch this movie. But
you had a good answer.
I got one. I think I got one.
And he does not waste words when he does character introductions. We've talked a lot on the podcast about being bold with your character introductions, using it as a way to show actors who they are so they can embody that person. That's one school of thought. His is not, you don't get that. I mean, for example, when he introduces Archer, one of, if not the most important character, it just says 40s powerful. That's it. Principal Andrews, it says 50s, gentle. Paul, the police officer, it says 30s, large. So very basic. And I'm sure he has conversations with the actors, and during the audition process, he finds people to embody the characters. But for the screenplay, he's not that concerned with letting you know about it. One of the most memorable exchanges in the screenplay and in the film is when Archer and Justine have their confrontation at the gas station. It says, Archer walks up to her and says, I want to talk to you. She takes a deep breath. Justine says, Mr. Graff, I'm sorry. I don't think we have anything to say to each other. Archer says, I think you got a lot to say. And then Justine's line after that, and the way Julia Garner delivers it, I mean, you could just see the look on her face, the pain and the frustration and just being treated so unfairly, but also this chip on her shoulder, this edge that she has, this defense mechanism. I mean, Julia Garner really did an outstanding job with this character. Here's what it looks like in the film.
I want to talk to you.
I don't think we have anything to say to each other.
Yeah, I think you have a lot to say.
You and every other person in this city. Believe me, the message is loud and clear. I'm the problem. Got it.
You know what? I think that's the first honest thing I've heard you say. You are the problem.
What, you want to get in my face? You want to threaten me?
I'm not. Nobody's threatening you right now.
You're barking up the wrong tree,
Oh,
okay?
you know what? This whole victim persona that you're taking on, it might have to Stop thinking of yourself. You and I are going to have a
that scene in the gas station is really exciting, and it's about 2 pages on the script of describing that interaction, which is a lot for him, because even scenes in the screenplay that are very meaningful, he keeps it sparse. Like, he lets you know what's happening and lets you use your own imagination in a lot of ways. But this one, he gets into the weeds here with great detail of what's going on. And you saw the scene. I mean, it is orchestrated on the screen exactly as it is in the screenplay. And I'll give you a little bonus here. Here's what it looked like when they shot it. Zach Cregger uses asides. We've been talking about asides a lot recently because a lot of our screenplays that we've broken down have them. I use them in my writing sparingly. I think that's probably the best route. But sometimes they can just give you some insight into the character without having to go on and on, without having to put them in a mechanical position to show it when you just want to keep going. You don't want to break story for that. We'll look at 68 as an example. You have Anthony who's in the tent and he's hearing noises outside. It's really scary. The snapping of twigs, slow footsteps, his eyes widen. Did I really hear that? So it tells you, you put it in italics there, and it tells you exactly what his eyes widened for. Why did his eyes widen? I mean, we have a pretty good idea, but this just very clarifies it. And of course, Ari Aster is the master of this, and his screenplay that we broke down most recently, that was Hereditary. It was like 200 or 300 sides. He really relies on it heavily. Which, by the way, I have the editing screenplay and was going to break that one down next. But then I got my hands on this one, and it's just like so topical, so timely. So maybe we'll go back to Eddington. A lot has been made out about the gun in the sky, the AR-57. I guess that's what it is. AR-15 probably. I don't know about guns. But it's an assault rifle. And it having the 217 on it. And I mean, it's a dream, so you can do whatever you want in the dream. So, but there's been a lot of talk about, like, what did that mean? Was it a political statement? What is he saying about kids and schools and guns? And this is actually what he has to say about it.
I don't think it's about, to me, weapons is not an examination of societal malfunction. To me, it's more about my own personal stuff. You know, like the final chapter of this movie is very autobiographical. It's about, and this is not a spoiler, but it's examining the dynamic of children with parents who are alcoholics, which is my childhood. And the idea of a foreign entity entering a household and inverting the dynamic between a child and the parents, you know, the child feeding the parents soup and, you know, being the caretaker and that sort of a thing. So, you know, that it's much more about my own autobiographical stuff than looking outward. It's a looking inward movie.
Here it is on page 38. He looks up to see floating some 30 feet in the sky above his house is a gigantic yacht-sized AR-15 assault rifle. Archer stares dumbly at it, mesmerized. It floats there, towering above the trees. A moment later, numbers appear in red glowing fire on its stock. 2, 1, 7.